Hey techies, welcome to ElfinCode. If you're new to the channel, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. You're watching a video from the PySpark playlist. So let's
So
begin.
today we will be checking out some of the date function like toDate, toTimestamp and date format function, and we will see how we can make use of these function in our code. Okay, so now these three different functions are falling into two different category. One is like a string to date. So which means that if you have any column which is of string type, and if you want to convert it to the data type, or let's say time stamp data type, then you may be using toDate or toTimestamp function. Whereas if you have any column which is of date type and you want to convert it to the string type, then you will be using a date underscore format function. Okay, so let us go to the practical area to understand more on this function. Okay, now I have created one Python file with very basic template which is having nothing but a kind of sort of data, and then a method which will be creating a data frame on the basis of this data id, name and age. Okay, now what we can do, we can write one function here, def get the string to data, string to date class conversion. Okay, so now here what I can do, okay, now these function to date, to timestamp and date format, these are available in PySpark.sql.function module. Okay, so you need to import these function from this module. Okay, so what I am doing, I'm just creating first the data frame with the basic data. So for which I will be calling this particular method self dot get data frame. Okay, so now this will be creating a data frame and passing it to this df variable. Now here I will just add one column, df dot with column, and I'll say that I have a column, new column, let's say string date. Okay, and I'll just keep a default value in it, literal of, I'll say 2021 01, or let's say 1201. Okay, so this is my data, and I'll also create one more new column which will be having some timestamp kind of data. Okay, so with column, and I'll say string date timestamp. Okay, now here what I will do, I'll just add one date. So let's say 2023 04, and I'll say 01. Okay, and then I'll just add hour 05 minute 20, and second would be something 10. Okay, so these are the two columns which I have created. Okay, now let us do one thing, df dot show, to see whether we have this column created or not. Yes, I need to add the lit function over it to have the constant value created as a default to this column. Okay, df dot show, and then I'll say df dot print schema. So both the column which we have added, string date and string timestamp, is a string column. Okay, so just to confirm, we will just print it. Okay. Okay, I think we have not called this method here, so we just need to call this, and we'll stop and run the file. Okay, so let us wait for some time to get the data, just to confirm whether we are getting these two new column in the data. Yes, so these two column are added to the data frame. Here you can see string date and string timestamp, both are of string data type. And if we check the data, so we can see that string date, okay, it comes out with all the data populated, the default data, and same with the string timestamp. So the default data of this one gets populated. Okay, now what we will do, we'll convert this. Okay, so to convert this, let me do one thing. I don't want to disrupt this column. I'll create a new column, df dot with column, and I'll name it as string date to date. Okay, and I'll say here to underscore date, and then I'll say column of this column. And how is the data format in this column? So I'll give d d d d, no sorry, it is y y y y, then it is mm, then it is dd. Okay, so this is the format of the data which is being there inside this column. Okay, now I'll similarly create one more column, df dot with column, and I'll say it as string timestamp to date, let's say to date. So here I'll give to date, I'll say call of this my column, and then I'll say the format is y dd, sorry, dd, and then ss. Okay, so this is the format of my data inside this. Okay, now what we will do, we'll just show this. So these two columns should be of date data type. Okay, and then I'll say df dot print schema. Okay, so let us see if it has converted. Okay, so it is quite simple. First we created two column of string data type, okay, where we kept the string value of the date and string value of the timestamp. Then what we did, we created two new column, and with the help of this existing column we tried to create a new column, string date to date and string timestamp to date. Okay, so now here you can see in the resultant data frame, we can see these two columns comes out as a date column. Okay, now here if you see the data also comes out to be in the date format. Okay, whereas in the previous part, so you can see that these two column were in the string column. Okay, so this is how you can make use of to date and this to date function. Okay, and to timestamp. Okay, here you can use to timestamp as well. So let me do one thing. Let me create one more column just to demonstrate the to timestamp. So instead of date, I'll say to timestamp. Okay, so here I'll say to timestamp. Fine, and now we can run this. Okay, yeah, so we have the same column, but here what we are trying to do, we are trying to convert this into timestamp column. So earlier this was a string, so this string was converted to date, and here in this new column it is converted to timestamp. So here you can see this column is of data type timestamp, whereas this was date and this was also date. Okay, so the resultant, you can see this is how the resultant is. Okay, so this was date, string timestamp to date, and this is string timestamp to timestamp column. Okay, so this is how you can make use of this to date and to stamp function. Okay, so the last part was date format. Okay, now this date format is a function which is used to convert any date data type to string data type. Okay, now here you can see that these are date data type. Okay, so now we will try to convert this into string data type. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let us create one more column. Okay, df dot with column, I'll say this date to string. Okay, so this is my new column, and I will say date format, and I'll just give the column name here, call of this. Okay, now what I will say, I want, this is the date column, I want it in a different format. I'll say that I want it in a dd mm and YYYY. Okay, and then I'll say that df of show and df of print schema. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are taking this column, which is nothing but a data type column, having this particular format of data, and then we are trying to convert it to string data type. Look here, now this is the column which we had used. Okay, this is of date data type. Now we use this column to create a new column which is date to string column. Okay, which is of string data type. Okay, and we change the format of the date also. Okay, so let us see the data. Okay, here if you see, this was the original data. Fine, now this original data was converted to this data. So this was string data and this was date data, and the format is also changed to dd mm yyy from yyy dd. Okay, so this is how you can make use of date format. Okay, you can put any kind of format here. Okay, yeah, so that's all from this video. Hopefully you like the video. Thank you.
Elfin quiz of the day. In PySpark, what is the purpose of the lit function when used in conjunction with parsing string columns to dates or date times? Option A, it converts literals to dates. Option B, it creates literal columns with default values. Option C, it is not used in date parsing. Or option D, it performs arithmetic operations on date columns. Mention your answer in the comment section below. So that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe ElfinCode for future updates.